This documentary was not sponsored or endorsed by the Tetris company. Scenes of Tetris gameplay have a strobing effect that may affect photosensitive viewers. This is a story about people who played Tetris on the original Nintendo console. A game so hard, it took 15 years for anyone to get videotape of a million-point game. A game so tough, you lose every time.
I didn't know if I was ever going to have a chance to win.
Sometimes you play when you shouldn't be playing.
I think universally people have that feeling where they're like, I'm done with this game.
This is a story about a tournament designed to find the best Tetris player in the world.
I want to be the first person to beat him.
Obviously, I was not done playing Tetris.
Then you have Tetris pieces that are falling from the sky.
What was frustrating for me was this shouldn't be happening. I stepped back and I was like, okay, there's something I'm doing wrong.
Getting frustrated, literally tears of frustration, I remember that.
Everyone has their controller that they really dig. They flew across the country with. It's personal to them. They know its nuances. It's like they know how to make love to this thing. They know its little tricks.
So you're gonna bring Turd?
I'm bringing Turd, yeah.
A competition to decide once and for all whose skills, whose talents, whose performance under pressure could defeat anyone.
Take a deep breath, play well.
You have to deal with the stuff that you're given.
You have to play that way in order to be that efficient.
There are situations where nothing is good. Everything is a bad move, but you have to ask yourself, what's the least bad move?
But this isn't a story just about victory. This is a story about not giving up. In 2010, Robin Mihara set out to create the Classic Tetris World Championship, or CTWC. There's an entire documentary about it called Ecstasy of Order. Robin, along with the film's director, Adam Cornelius, and producer, Vince Clemente, put on the tournament in Los Angeles, inviting the best players they could find. Robin had a personal history with Tetris on the Nintendo. As a kid, he came in third place at the Nintendo World Championships, also known as the NWC. Back in 1990, kids across America competed in a triathlon of 3 games for a combined high score in the NWC. The main game was Tetris. 20 years later, the first CTWC emulated the NWC. To qualify for the tournament, players competed for high scores. The final 8 then played 3 rounds to see who would end up at the top of a combined high-score leaderboard. At the end, the 2 highest-scoring players, Harry Hong and Jonas Neubauer, played head-to-head games to crown a champion. In later years, the tournament changed. The bracket expanded to include 32 players. They compete in a single elimination format. Each match is best of 3 games, with the higher score winning each game. Lose 1 match, and you're out. At the end of a grueling day, the top 2 players face off in a best-of-5 series. In its 5th year, CTWC organizers allowed a film crew to follow the action in Portland, Oregon. After 4 years, it was no longer about finding the best Tetris player in the world. It was about whether anybody could beat Jonas Neubauer, the 4-time world champion. In the early years of the CTWC, 2 players stood out, Jonas Neubauer and Harry Hong. Jonas won the tournament 4 times in a row, but in 2 of those, he faced Harry at the end. These 2 players kept running into each other at the top of the game. Going into the 5th year, Harry's name came up in every interview.
Who do I want to win this year? That's a tough question. I think the overall sentiment is not Jonas. Like, if I had to pull for someone, probably be Harry.
I mean, a large part of me wants Harry to win because he's come so close.
I'd like to see Harry win, just because he's been through so much.
He is incredible. If he was never born, Harry would have won every year. You know, it's just, it pains me sometimes to think about. He is so effing good. So I would like to see Harry win, if it's not me.
The biggest rivalry in Classic Tetris is Jonas versus Harry. And it's been that way since the beginning, when the organizers were planning the first tournament and filming their own documentary.
The original idea for the film when I was first pitched it was that it was gonna be Harry versus Jonas in the theater. Like, those were like the 2 best players anyone could find, and it was like there's no reason why these 2 players can't play against each other, you know? It's kind of funny that that's happened.
The top Tetris players have fans.
Well, I was handing out these flyers saying, hey, come to the Tetris Championship, you know, qualify. They're like, oh, we can't qualify. And this little kid was like so excited. He was like, I just want to see Harry Hong play. So him and his dad were coming to just watch. Like he's a fan of Harry Hong, like getting his autograph, you know?
Part of the way that you make it a spectator sport is you have to have, you know, Magic versus Bird. And that's what I was kind of thinking. Jonas and Harry, I think, are the 2 best Tetris players in the world. And I'm comfortable saying that because our tournament is a marathon of sudden death play. You have to sit in that seat 5 times, and if you make 1 mistake, you're out.
I'd never played NES Tetris before, but Harry signed up on Hard Drop and he was talking to me about it, and that's when I found out about him. And I found out that he's one of the top NES Tetris players in the world. I think top 2 at the time, because he signed up around 3 years ago. So it was him and Jonas back then, and that was it. That was the conversation. Him and Jonas were the 2 possible choices to win the tournament at the time.
So who do you want to be the one winner of the whole thing?
The one winner?
Yeah.
Can I say myself?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, myself. I mean, you know, 2 second places, you know, so close, but you know, haven't gotten that top spot yet. So, you know, that's always the goal in any sport. You know, you're 1 game away, and then you lose like 3-4 in a row to pretty much lose the championship. I mean, it'll hurt anybody, you know. One good thing came out of it, like, you know, after I lost that, after I went home, I reviewed the run. I saw one thing I was doing wrong. That I won't talk about.
Tetris is a puzzle game that rewards rhythm, fast decision-making, and flexible thinking. It was invented in 1985. Since then, Tetris has become one of the world's most popular games. There is at least 1 flavor of Tetris on virtually every gaming system and computer system that has come out since the late 1980s. In 1989, Nintendo released its official version of Tetris for the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES. This version is considered a classic because it's simple on the surface, but reveals its complexity the more you play it. The name Tetris alludes to tennis, the favorite sport of Tetris creator Alexei Pajitnov. The Tetris playfield is 10 blocks wide and 20 blocks high. Puzzle pieces are called tetraminos. There are 7 tetraminos. The O, often called square. The T. The L. The J, which is a mirrored L. The S. The Z, which is a mirrored S. And the I, often called the long bar. Pieces enter from the top and drop, as if gravity is pulling them down. The player moves the piece left or right, and can rotate the piece as it falls. When a piece touches the bottom, it locks in and cannot be moved. As pieces pile up, they form a stack. When that stack reaches the top of the playfield, the game ends. This is called topping out. There's actually no way to win Classic Tetris. Every game ends with the player topping out. The score counter has 6 digits, so the highest possible score is 999,999 points. Achieving this score is called maxing out. In 2014, max outs were rare. Top players worked for years to get that score. They used a technique called DAS, which stands for Delayed Auto Shift. By pressing and releasing the left and right buttons at very precise moments, literally fractions of a second, players can move pieces quickly from side to side. In 2014, every top player used DAS. But back in the first CTWC, Thor Ackerland used a technique called hypertapping. This meant he hammered the left and right buttons, giving him an advantage. Thor did not compete in later tournaments. Classic Tetris is infamous for its RNG, which stands for Random Number Generator. The RNG determines which piece comes next. Classic Tetris delivers a random piece every time. We'll spare you the detailed math on how that works. In later versions of Tetris, the rules were changed so that players were guaranteed to get one of each tetramino within a reasonable period of time. But the RNG in this game is ruthless. If you need a particular piece, you can't count on getting it quickly. The goal of Tetris is to combine the pieces to fill up a horizontal line across the playfield. When a complete line is formed, it clears and the game awards points. If you clear 2 lines, that's called a double. There's a small points bonus for clearing 2 lines at once. Then there's a triple, which has a slightly larger bonus. But the big prize in the game of Tetris is clearing 4 lines at once. This 4-line clear is actually called a Tetris. So the word Tetris is both a noun and a verb. Tetris is the name of the game, and you Tetris by clearing 4 lines at once. There's a massive score bonus for each Tetris. And it can only be done one way. Create a gap in the stack that's at least 4 pieces deep, and then drop the long bar into that gap. Boom! Tetris for you. In Classic Tetris, experts start on level 18. At that level, pieces drop all the way to the bottom of the playfield in 1 second. Well, actually, 0.998 seconds. That's way too fast for beginners. But experts learn to play at that speed. If you want to get a high score, starting on level 18 is the way to go. After clearing 130 lines, the game advances to level 19, which is called the transition. From this point on, the pieces take 2/3 of a second to hit the bottom. That's 1 new piece every 0.666 seconds. That speed up is so intense that it often catches players off guard and causes early top outs. Level 19 speed is tough. By keeping the stack as low as possible, players still have just enough time to move pieces to the sides of the playfield. At level 20, the game does not speed up, yet. Instead, it remains the same speed as level 19, but now the level, and thus the color scheme, changes every 10 lines. When the game reaches 230 lines, level 29 kicks in. This is called the kill screen, and pieces drop twice as fast, hitting the bottom in 1/3 of a second. That's right, 3 pieces hit the bottom every second. It's called the kill screen because it's just too fast to play. Level 29 will kill your game, usually in just a few seconds. There is a level 30 and beyond. Back in 2014, the year this series was filmed, only a handful of players had even seen level 30. It was considered nearly impossible because it required clearing 10 lines on the kill screen. So while it technically could be done, It had never happened in competitive play. It did, however, happen in future tournaments as Classic Tetris players developed new techniques to handle high-speed play.
Terry Daniel Purcell II. I was named after my father, who was deceased. Never got to meet the guy, actually. Yeah, died just a few months before I was born. Very volatile home environment. Had a lot to do with my stepdad at the time. My mother and my family moved away probably, and I'm not kidding, about 50 times between the time when I was first brought here to Oregon and the time that I graduated high school. We would sit up late at night in my mom's room on the bed, all of us, my brother, sister, my mom, and I, and we'd just take turns playing. And unfortunately, when I was a kid at least, I had a very stressful, rough upbringing. And so I ended up using it as an outlet, or not an outlet, as an escape, pretty much. And I played that thing so much. My stepdad would get so upset that I played so often, neglecting pretty much everything, chores, schoolwork. There was one point where he threw it on top of our roof to get rid of it, and oh my God, it was a maelstrom of hatred that followed that NES everywhere we went. It was a complete and utter relaxation, and it separated me from what was going on, and I still think that's true today. The first thing I want to do when I come home, I don't have a particularly stressful job, and in fact I love my job, but I just need to decompress a little bit when I get home, and that's still what it functions as today. It's a way for me just to kind of let loose of whatever baggage I've accumulated over the day. You know, I didn't start playing Tetris again until like the beginning of 2013. I think there were like 7 people that year that maxed. I was like, F this, I'm gonna get going, I'm gonna do it. And then it took me another year before I actually did.
I mean, the story of Terry is, 2 years ago he showed up at the tournament in 2012 and no one had heard of him.
And I went hungover, and I had just come from a party, and I also had this memory of me being pretty much the best Tetris player that I'd ever met.
Many people who have convinced themselves that they're great on Tetris on this or that, oh, I used to play Tetris on Game Boy, I was the best on my block. It just doesn't translate. I mean, you really have to be specifically educated and trained on NES Tetris to have any chance of even getting into this tournament.
And so I showed up and I was like, I'm taking this championship home. These guys don't even know who this guy is. They've been defeated when I sit down.
He had maybe just seen the movie and he didn't really understand how the game even worked. So he played 19 only for qualifying, which is ridiculous.
It kills even good players almost all the time. And I was trying to be show-offy. And then I just continued to try to qualify at level 19.
Yeah, that's an awful strategy.
That's an awful strategy, yeah. But that was his strategy, and I think he came in like 30th. He still qualified, starting on 19.
I believe my high score for the day was 288,000, which managed to get me into the qualifying round, but I was so embarrassed I didn't even come back the next day. Then last year, I went back. At the time, I had not maxed out. I had 853,000, I think was my high score, so I had just got back to where I was at the peak of my abilities. I went in there, and what killed me was my nerves.
So now he's understood, learned the game, put the most practice in, and he's there.
I think like Terry will probably go up a lot higher just because he's been training a lot.
Terry's great. I think he came up to me and said, I've just been completely plagiarizing your moves. It's not plagiarizing, it's adopting whatever works for you. That's wonderful. And his improvement has just been great. I think he's been putting up great scores.
I'm really confident that I'm the best Tetris player in the world. I honestly think that. I would be unhappy if I were to win without playing Jonas, but I would love to play him because I want to beat him. I sit down here and I do that very few people do all the time, and I do it more consistently. And whether or not that's because they play less than me, I don't know, but I do it. I max. I play really solid 19 games constantly. Yeah, I really do think I'm good.
As Saturday begins, players wait in line to qualify for the tournament. The CTWC is held inside the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, or PRGE, in Portland, Oregon. The line is longer than ever. Inside, the organizers are ready. All the TVs are turned on and warmed up, and spare parts are on hand in case something breaks. To qualify, players register at the front desk. Then they stand in line, waiting to play a single game of Tetris at one of the qualifying stations. The rules are simple. Play one game starting on level 9 or higher. No pausing is allowed. Only original Nintendo controllers are permitted. Players can bring their own or use one provided by the tournament. When a player finishes their game, they can submit their score to a referee. The referee writes that score on a scorecard, along with the player's name, and submits it to the scorekeeper. After each game, players get back in line and wait for another chance. Some games end in immediate failure, known as an early top-out. Frustrated players yank their controllers out and wait to try again. The line itself becomes a place to socialize, as players catch up with one another after a year apart. This year, the organizers introduce a new feature: 4 stations on the stage, which are rented to players in 1-hour blocks. Players can pay to skip the line and play for 1 uninterrupted hour. But many of the best players, including Jonas, stick with the line.
I like the idea of having to get back in line and waiting for a station because it adds some pressure, but at the same time, it allows you to get into game mode, get into tournament mode. It eases you in. It definitely favors people that get there early. Anybody can do that, so that's kind of on you to get there. So if you do max out first, you can get the top seed.
Qualifying runs all day Saturday, from 10 a.m. until the expo closes at 5 p.m. As high scores are tallied by the scorekeeper, Sunday's tournament begins to take shape. The player with the highest score will be assigned the highest seed, and will compete against the player with the lowest score. We're about to see something historic. One player entered the tournament using a pseudonym. His real name is Sean Ritchie, but this year he's going by Douglas Quaid. That's the name of Arnold Schwarzenegger's character in Total Recall. Quaid's older brother, Ryan, is also playing this year. On his 4th game of the day, Quaid puts up a max-out score, making him the number 1 seed. Tournament organizer Vince Clemente interviews Quaid.
So we have the max out here, first max out of the day, Douglas Quaid. How does it feel?
It feels all right. I'm just happy I'm beating my brother, and that's all that matters.
Do you have any words for the rest of the competitors today?
No, I don't. But go Buko. That's all I gotta say.
That last comment was "Go Buko," referring to player Matt Buko. Quaid and his friends have cheered on Matt Buko every year.
I need the real power glove.
This is only the 2nd time in history a player has maxed out during qualifying. Jonas did it last year. With Quaid's max out on the board, top players work to match it. Terry spends a frustrating hour at his rental station, then gets in line.
So yeah, I feel fine physically, but just nervous. I'm always nervous. We'll get her done. So yeah.
So there was an opportunity this year to do something unique and novel, which was you could rent a TV and a Nintendo for an hour at a time. I think it costs $20. I had the pleasure of sitting next to Harry Hong the first hour that I bought, and him and I slaved away, and both of us kept looking at each other kind of in defeat because we were both playing terribly. I think he got an 810 and I got a 798 in our first hour of play.
Later, a rental station opens up for an extra hour.
Vince made an announcement, and I was sitting at one of the stations where you could stand in line to play. And he made an announcement, the next person that comes over here and tells me they want the station can have it. So I just literally dropped my controller from the station, walked over there and said, I want it. And he made sure that there was no one else that wanted it first because I had already had a chance.
We have one available spot. If anyone hasn't had one yet, they can come over here and get one.
And so nobody else came up and said they wanted it, so I got it.
Terry's nerves are getting to him. He has 1 more hour to qualify, and he is not happy with his progress. Until...
Satan in the house.
Finally! Jesus Christ!
We got excitement in the back from Terry. So, what just happened back there? What just happened back there, Terry?
I finally played a decent game.
He finally played a decent game.
With qualifying over, the bracket is set. It's a single elimination tournament in which players compete in a best-of-3 format. In other words, the first player to win 2 games takes the match. The loser is eliminated. Only the final match will be best of 5. The top seed, Quaid, is set to face 32nd seed Rigel Pierce in the first round. The 3rd seed, Terry, is matched up against Ryan Ritchie, that's Quaid's older brother. 4th seed, Bo Style, will face Stephen Hughes. 5th seed Harry Hong will face Grant Siefker. All of these matches heavily favor the higher seed. 2nd seed Jonas has an unexpected first round matchup, but we'll save that for later. In the first round, the tough matches are among players with similar seeds. Skill levels are closer together, so these matches could easily go either way. One early match has Matt Bucco facing Dana Wilcox. Both players have competed in every previous CTWC. Dana is one of the stars of Ecstasy of Order. She's also one of only 2 women to make the bracket this year. In the first CTWC, players like Harry and Jonas were invited to play because they held world records. But that year, Dana had to compete with other players to qualify for the small 8-person bracket.
Dana Wilcox, definitely a fan favorite. I mean, in that first year, we had a few people cheering here and there, but people brought signs like for Dana because they were really cheering for her. She was a very unique character, and at the end, there were a couple of slots for walk-in competitors, and Dana had to earn hers. And not only did she have to earn hers, but she had to go through Alex Kerr, and she kept playing and she never gave up. She kept going, and finally got a score that qualified in the end. She had to bump out Alex Kerr to get that last 7th spot in the tournament.
All right, let's hear it for Dana Wilcox. Great to see you again.
I love seeing her every year. I want to see her in future years in competition because just a great, warm personality in our community.
In 2010, 1 in 4 CTWC players were women. By 2014, it's down to 1 in 16. Aside from Dana, the only other woman to make the bracket is Kristen Stein.
I did have the pleasure of meeting Dana today, which was awesome. Great player. She definitely handed me some pointers, and I'm gonna definitely go home and take those pointers and try my best to achieve them. But we definitely need more women in the field to kind of give you guys a run for your money.
Because of her travel schedule, this year, Dana becomes the first player in tournament history to qualify online, using a live video connection with tournament organizers Adam and Vince.
So what's that one, Dana?
That one's 447911.
447911. Well, just in case, you want to show that one?
I guess we might as well just look at it, right?
Okay, now hold her steady for a second. Oh, we saw it.
Yeah?
Yep, we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Dana's qualifying score earns her a number 19 seed. After defeating Matt Bucco in the first round, Dana faces Terry. 1 year earlier, Dana finished just above Terry in the final rankings. For both, it's a must-win match. Chris Tang called the matches live in 2014. For this film, Chris is joined by James Chen to watch the matches live in studio and offer new commentary. Let's meet the announcers.
Hi, I'm Chris Tang, one of your commentators, where we go back to these matches and talk about these historic matchups. Now we're here with James Chen, who has become part of our Classic Tetris family over the years.
Yeah, this is exciting for me. Obviously, I came in part way through this and got to learn a lot about the history of the Classic Tetris World Championships. And, for me, it's been a joy to have become part of the family. And, I've talked to so many people like Chris, who's given me a lot of the tale of the history. And now I get to see this and commentate these matches as if, like we're doing this live. And it's really exciting.
Yeah, and these matches didn't exist in this format before. So even though I was there the first time, it actually happened, being able to step into this time portal and do it again now with everything's one player versus one player, whereas before it was kind of like we had to talk about 4 players at the same time before. It's just a lot cleaner, and the technology that we've been able to use since then with what we call tray vision, where you have the 2 matchups with score differentials
and the burn rate,
and the drought counters and things like that. That wasn't around back in 2014, but now through the modern miracle and of modern technology, it's like stepping through a time portal and being able to commentate on these things through extra dimensional technology.
Yeah,
so.
You can see you on the film in the background over there. Just be careful. Don't talk to yourself. You're going to cause a time rift here.
cause history to implode on itself.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into our first match here. I'm excited. Let's do some commentary for some classic Tetris matches.
Awesome. Boom, Tetris for you.
For this match, the cameras in front of the players were turned off. The filmmakers have inserted footage of those players from other matches for continuity.
Okay, folks, we're about to call up our round 2 competitors. We're going to start with the right side of the bracket. To the stage, I'd like to invite Terry Purcell and Dana Wilcox.
The door was already open.
Terry, any thoughts going into round 2?
I'm a brainless zombie for Tetris.
He is a brainless Tetris zombie incapable of speaking. Dana, any thoughts for round 2? How do you think it's going to go here against Terry?
I'm just happy to be here.
She's just happy to be here. Okay. Let's do the 3 count to begin round 2, you guys. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, here we go. The match has started here between Dana and Terry.
19th seed Dana versus 3rd seed Terry. Terry heavily favored in this match.
Yeah, coming in here having practiced a lot, claiming to be the best at Tetris right now. So this is where he gets to try to prove that.
Dana taking some burns early on, but Terry with Tetris ready early on. He could be the first to score. Boom, Tetris for Terry.
Yeah, so you can see right now he's at a 50% Tetris rate. You see on the TRT on the side over there letting us know how many Tetrises that he has, compared to how many times he's had to just burn a line like that you just saw right there.
But Terry burning down his 2nd Tetris and now a 3rd.
Yeah, so he's doing well here, and he's at 63%, which is max out pace. Meanwhile, you can see right now from Dana's side, she actually has a 0% rate, so has not gotten a Tetris yet.
Yeah, Terry's up by 3 Tetrises now, so Dana has some catching up to do, and she does. Boom, Tetris for Dana.
Yeah, so that's her first Tetris right there.
Terry firing right back, though, so she's still got to make 3 Tetrises to catch up at this point.
Yeah, so you can see how she's just burning a bunch of lines right now, but that's going to be the 2nd Tetris for her. Nicely done.
And Terry now having to do a little bit of burning to open as well. He's Tetris ready again.
Oops, just a little bit of a misdrop right there. Accidentally slid the piece a little earlier than he was intending to. Probably trying to maintain the DAS. Here we go.
Yep, he's going to do a little digging to get the bottom of his playfield exposed again. So Dana has a chance to catch up here.
Yeah, you can see right now Terry's just trying to get back to that right side over there so that he's Tetris ready over there. But the pieces haven't been... Actually, no, now the pieces are doing well for him. So,
he's cleaned up, dug back to the bottom, and he's going to try to get Tetris ready again. And Dana now with a lot of holes in her stack, so she's going to be doing some burning.
Yeah.
But she's caught up a little bit. She's only about a Tetris behind now.
Yeah. But unfortunately, she has to keep, you can see the little hole that she has there on column number 2. She keeps having to cover that up. So she's having a little bit of trouble getting through there, but that should do it. And perfectly with that L piece. No, actually, she's going for a column 2 Tetris.
Yeah, she's Tetris ready, waiting for the longboard. There it is.
Yeah, it's a dirty Tetris,
Boom.
as we like to call it.
Mm-hmm. Tetris for Dana. So Terry, in the meantime, has been making Tetrises consistently and has widened the lead now, up by 50,000 points. So Dana has two and a half Tetrises she needs to make to catch up.
Yeah, and I feel like because she knows that she's behind right now, she's playing a little more aggressive instead of trying to get to that clean play field with the Tetris ready on column 10. Look at this. She's going for these column 9.
She's being very resourceful, taking them when they come. Boom, Tetris for Dana.
Nicely done. And now, look at that. Back to a perfectly clean play field.
Terry firing back with another Tetris, maintaining that 50,000 point lead.
And you can see right now, their Tetris rates are both, under 60%. 60% is about max out pace, and the both players just under that right now.
Right. They're playing a bit safe. I mean, early on, that's probably the wise thing to do. You don't have to take too many risks in a first match in a best of 3.
Yeah. Try to, pace it out, test your opponent, see how much that they are pushing you because Terry knows he's ahead right now. He can probably play
Dana's in
a little
trouble.
bit. Oh, dang, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, she's going to have to dig.
Oh, no.
Gets the right pieces, but that's a bit too high, and it looks like she's going to top out. Terry ahead by 90,000 points, takes the first round.
Yeah, again, like I was trying to say, it's if you know that your opponent is not doing as well as you can kind of play safer.
Yeah, dial back the aggression, see what happens, and if your opponent tops out, then you're good.
Yeah, so Terry takes the lead here, 1-0 over Dana. And again, this is just kind of the start of the road here for Terry. I mean, he really, really went at the qualification rounds, and he played like 2 hours straight on one of the rental stations. And then for the lines, he was just there for hours, just practicing and practicing. And again, even before the tournament, he was practicing a whole bunch for this match.
Yeah, here you go with the second round now. Terry up by 1. And both players having to do some tucks. Now, keep in mind that the players are not playing with the same piece sets in this particular tournament. So they have different pieces going in, and whether or not the game gives them favorable sets is up to RNG at this point. So both players just have to play the best they can with what they're given.
Yep, always praying to the RNG gods out there to hope to get the best pieces possible here. Ooh, and Terry there with a burn. But, because there's only one next block, sometimes it's hard to tell if you have it all, if all the right pieces are coming. And so sometimes you're going to sacrifice a potential Tetris with an emergency burn.
Right. The players are always striving to score Tetrises as much as possible because they're worth so much more than singles, doubles, or triples. But sometimes if you have holes in your stack or you just need to stay safe, you have to burn lines that are not Tetrises, and that's what we call a burn.
Yeah. So Dana right there, you saw a couple of burns there. And now is Tetris ready? And boom.
Boom, Tetris for Dana. Boom, Tetris for Terry. Terry with a nice tuck just to keep things clean.
Yeah, just sliding those pieces in there. And where it looks like you shouldn't be able to get the piece in there, but again, these players are really, really good and really strong, so they know all the tactics that they have available to themselves. Okay, and boom, Tetris for Dana.
Terry up by 57,000 points, so Dana's still got 2.5 Tetrises to catch up.
Yeah, and he's at a 70% Tetris rate. That is really, really a clean play right now.
Yes, Terry on max out pace.
And you see right there, he had to create a little overhang, but he's going to be able to tuck that piece right in there, and look at that. Perfectly clean play field again.
Yeah, Terry very comfortable with setting things up for a tuck to keep his play field Tetris ready. Something delayed burns and things of that nature. All is keeping you in position to score is key.
Yeah, and both players right now with beautiful, clean play fields. However, as you could see, do you see the little flashing red over there on Dana's side? That is the drought, which means obviously the line bars, the I bars, the
I Tetramino.
Yeah, right there. That's the most important one because that's where you're going to get the only way you can score a Tetris. But sometimes RNG says, you know what, I'm not going to give you one of those pieces for a while. And so when you see that flashing red on the side, that is the drought of eyepieces.
But Dana surviving the drought and in position to score again. Super clean now, but she's behind by 114,000 points. So that's 5+ Tetrises she has to make to catch up. And Terry with a comfortable lead now.
I mean, look at that 76% Tetris rate, which is crazy. And and he has to do a little bit of burn, but you can see very comfortable. And now a Tetris to bring him back up to 73%.
Now we're at 77 lines now. When they hit 130 lines, what we're going to see is a transition speed. The game speed will increase, and the players are going to have to play a lot more defensively and a lot less aggressively because Tetrises are going to be harder to come by.
Right. And, because they're both playing with Daz, they can't slide the pieces over all the way to the side if it gets too high up. So with the increased speed. And so they really do have to play a lot safer.
Right. And a lot of players want to make the most of their score before the speed transition.
Yeah, and you also want to try to transition with a clean play field.
You need to transition safely. You have to make sure that your field is below like the center line of the play field.
Yeah, and both of them right now, you can see right now Dana still needs to do a little bit more cleaning here. Getting a little unfortunate RNG. Oh, actually, no, never mind. That was perfect right there, even though that's not a Tetris, that's just a triple. But at least her play field is a lot cleaner now. Yeah.
Right, she's trying to drill back down to the bottom. She's got about 30 lines to do it before the transition. Terry looking super clean now. Tetris ready, up by 8,000 points. Boom, Tetris for Terry. Jumping up into the lead, 100,000 points up in a great position as we near the speed transition.
Right, and again, this is the point in time where you know that Terry
with a T-spin.
Ooh, nice. And he can play really safe right now. He can play if he knows he has this lead against Dana, at this transition, he can play very conservatively and just hope that Dana, because she's behind in points, might push herself a little too hard to catch up.
Yeah, Terry is about to make the speed transition there. Boom, Tetris for Terry. Tetrising into transition, 130 lines, now at level 19. You notice the speed increase is tremendous.
Yeah. And again, that just makes it impossible to get the piece over to the sides sometimes, depending on how high the stack goes with the Daz method of play.
Oh, Dana with the center well now, ready for a dirty Tetris, but she had to cover it up. So hopefully she'll get some pieces so she can drill back down and score with that.
Yeah, well, she's doing all right here. She's cleaning up, and that piece is going to be perfect, but the transition is not clean.
Right. She opted to play safe and take some burns to drill back down, so she'd be safe at speed transition.
Yeah, and look at that. Well done on Dana's side there to get back to a clean play field, but so far behind. You can see the score differential at the top of the screen over there. She is down by over 150,000 points.
Yeah, and this being a best of 3, she has to win this round to stay in the match.
Right, and so this is where Terry can definitely play a lot more patient, calm, not have to go for anything crazy. But, Terry's playfield isn't looking so great right now.
Yeah, that's a bit messy. He's doing well to drill down, though, but he's going to be digging for a while.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's actually going to be really nice.
Yeah, some good burns there.
Yeah, and then that I bar is going to fit perfect
some
over
doubles.
there.
Yeah, he's doing it. He's getting back down.
This is what happens when, you're the self-proclaimed best Tetris player in the world.
All the way back down to the bottom. Awesome dig by Terry.
Yeah, beautiful stuff right there. And Dana now in the situation where she is not getting the pieces that she needs to get this burn, but she's surviving.
Surviving and digging back down herself.
Oh, that is a problem. That box right there, that OP's dropped over there. Ooh, just got the I bar over there in time.
Yeah, barely getting it over, because at this speed, it's incredibly difficult to get the speed or to move your pieces in time to the left or right.
Yeah. And she's surviving, but again, look at the score deficit at this point in time. Oh no! And then just a bad drop right there,
and it's just going to spiral out of control there. And Dana has topped out. Terry taking the match.
Yeah, you can see ending with a 40% Tetris rate. He was at like 70-some%, but like I said, by the time he got the big score lead, I felt like he could play safer.
Right, play safer and just take the match without taking too many risks.
Exactly.
But good showing by Dana, definite fan favorite here in the CTWC. We saw her in the first competition and Ecstasy of Order, and definitely popular and a strong player. We love seeing her every year.
Now that we've seen our first match, let's review the bracket. All of the top seeds have achieved a max out at some point in their Tetris career, while their opponents are still working toward that goal. Here they are in order. Quaid is first with his max out qualifying score. Jonas is second. Terry is third. Bo is fourth. And Harry is fifth. Terry has now made it past his first and second round matches, putting him into the quarterfinals. Next up, we'll follow the other players to find out who will reach the final round.
I get dreams about Tetris, but they're dreams about winning or losing the tournament. And they're dreams about the people I'm up against. Stress dreams, basically, but they're not about Tetris. The more that people play, the more similar we become. It's like we are working towards a pinnacle of perfection, and that perfection is all the same. Other than Harry and Jonas and Thor, Terry is probably the most accomplished Tetris player. From a technical perspective, he has the earliest max out. He has a 19 max out, and those two things, the earliest max out I think of as the most sought after record, and the 19 max out just as a thing is one of the most sought after things, and he has both. My life has not changed much. I'm a very stable person, much like my Tetris stack. So I will remain.